Hello and welcome to our edition of Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Clarisse Fortuné. Let's start with the headlines. The African Union, the UN and the US call for respect of humanitarian law in Sudan. With over 4 million people forced to flee, is there any end in sight to the chaos? We have the latest. Lecturers strike and the University of Zimbabwe hits back, hiring adjuncts for as little as $3 an hour. Teaching staff has been picketing for weeks, demanding fair pay and better conditions. The crisis has already forced the cancellation of exams. Eid al-Adha brings celebration across the Muslim world, but in parts of Africa like Sudan and Morocco, conflict and crisis cast a shadow over the holiday. We'll give you the story. The UN, the African Union, the United States and several other countries have urged the warring parties in Sudan to respect humanitarian law 3 days after an attack on a humanitarian convoy that killed 5 people. Since April 2023, Sudan has been devastated by a bloody war. According to the UN, 4 million people have already fled the country, leaving it in a chaotic humanitarian situation. Matthew Marika-Ruche.
In this hospital with very limited resources outside Khartoum, UN medical teams are trying to contain a devastating cholera epidemic that has afflicted war-torn Sudan for almost a year.
In addition to the treatment, we provided awareness and prevention activities to the community that needed in hotspot areas. Now we are approaching rainy season. The situation might worsening, also additional resources needed.
Despite the growing need for supplies, they are harder and harder to obtain. Last week, a convoy of trucks loaded with food from the World Food Programme and UNICEF was attacked on its way to Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur. The UN has called for an investigation into the incident, which resulted in the deaths of 5 convoy members.
All attacks on humanitarian personnel, on their facilities and vehicles must stop. Under international humanitarian law, aid convoys must be protected, and parties have an obligation to allow and facilitate rapid and unimpeded passage of humanitarian relief.
For several weeks, Al-Fashir has faced the prospect of famine, cut off from the rest of the world. It is one of the last North Darfur strongholds of the regular army of General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. For years, the paramilitary forces of Mohammed Hamdan Daglo have tried to conquer it with repeated bombardments. Each side has blamed the other for the attack on the humanitarian convoy.
Tense scenes in Togo's capital Lomé as police cracked down on a rare anti-government protest on Friday. Security forces fired tear gas and detained journalists as demonstrators denounced rising fuel prices, arrest of government critics, and a controversial constitutional reform. The unrest follows the arrest of rapper Amron, a vocal critic of the regime, sparking outrage from civil society. The University of Zimbabwe has begun replacing its striking lecturers with adjunct staff, reportedly earning as little as $3 per hour. More than 100 lecturers and teaching staff have been picketing Zimbabwe's main university to demand fair wages and improved working conditions. With no end in sight, exams have already been cancelled. Sharon Mazingaizo reports from Harare.
More than 100 lecturers have been picketing since 16 April at the University of Zimbabwe demanding better salaries. Currently, the lecturers are getting paid less than $230 a month.
From this salary, we are expected to come to work almost every day. Driving to work or even maintaining a vehicle is not possible. With this 230, we are expected to send our children to school. We are expected to eat. We are expected to buy clothes. It's no longer possible at all.
The lecturers are demanding a return of their 2018 salary of $2,500 a month before the government stopped paying in US dollars and switching to the Zimbabwean dollar. Students have been supportive of the striking lecturers and have called on the university to intervene on the ongoing strike. Classes and exams have been cancelled, disrupting the academic year at the university. Last month, some students were arrested following a protest against the university's failure to intervene on the ongoing strike. The students were later released. Lecturers were also arrested and charged with disorderly conduct. They were later on made to pay a fine and they were released. Recently, the university announced plans to replace the striking workers with temporary staff, offering them a low pay of $3 per hour for the university to resume its academic year.
Now to Kenya. An increasing number of young professionals are leaving the crowded capital, Nairobi, in search of a better quality of life in smaller cities. One of them is Kisumu, on the shores of Lake Victoria, a city quietly reinventing itself. With lower living costs and new opportunities, it's attracting a new generation of workers and entrepreneurs. Report by Clément Diroma and Olivia Pizzo.
300 kilometers from Nairobi, Kisumu, Kenya's third largest city, is attracting young professionals like 35-year-old engineer Harry Juma.
Kisumu is very relaxed. As you can see, it's in the morning. There is not much traffic.
After building his career in the capital, Harry relocated here in March. He now oversees this construction site where stone is quarried for new housing projects.
I like Kisumu. It's a perfect place, especially for the young who want to build themselves. Life is cheaper in Kisumu, especially the food, the nightlife, and also entertainment. It's quite affordable in Kisumu compared to Nairobi.
With a population of around 400,000, Kisumu is growing by nearly 4% each year, driven by lower costs and the rise of new industries. Dorcas Owino leads Lake Hub, a foundation training young developers in coding and artificial intelligence.
If you studied software development, it's time for you to look outside Nairobi. Feel free to come to Kisumu and develop other spaces as well and spread the resources and spread the opportunities.
Graduates here commit to staying at least 3 years, helping the hub and the city grow. At Kisumu's main university, this sociologist says many young people are turning away from big city life.
A sense of community, a sense of belonging is something that big cities do not have anymore. Those still exist in mid-cities and small cities. So young people would then want to come back to cities like that.
In the past 20 years, Kisumu's population has nearly doubled, turning what was once a quiet city into one of Kenya's biggest urban hubs.
Heart disease is a top killer in Ivory Coast, but with just 140 cardiologists nationwide, care is stretched thin. Now AI is stepping in. A new bot from the Abidjan Heart Institute and a local startup could revolutionize cardiac care. Julia Guggenheim and Damien Kofi reports.
Like 1 in 3 adults in Ivory Coast, Christophe Bigbaz suffers from high blood pressure. The disease requires regular monitoring and lifelong daily treatment. He receives a rather unusual call.
Pour commencer, pourriez-vous me dire quand vous avez pris votre tension artérielle pour la dernière fois?
Aujourd'hui.
Très bien. Pourriez-vous vraiment me donner les chiffres de votre tension artérielle d'aujourd'hui, s'il vous plaît?
14, 8.
Avez-vous réduit votre consommation de sel récemment? Réduire le sel est très bénéfique pour la santé cardiovasculaire.
The Abidjan Health Institute is conducting a study on 300 patients with high blood pressure to test a conversational bot developed by a local startup. From now on, Christophe will receive a call every 3 weeks.
I do have regular follow-ups, but it's periodic. It's 3 times a year. I think this system will enable the doctor and myself too to take care of my treatment and focus on the recommendations that it gives me.
The bot helps doctors diagnose during emergencies in a country with only 140 cardiologists.
This morning I received an alert for a patient with very high blood pressure. So we got in touch with him to see if he had any symptoms that were considered high risk. If so, we would see him in person rapidly.
Cardiovascular disease has become the #1 cause of death among adults in Ivory Coast.
For example, stroke mortality has risen by almost 20% in our country, while we know that mortality linked to AIDS or malaria has fallen, thanks to the efforts that have been made and the resources that have been deployed.
The Institute hopes the conversational bot can also be used to monitor other chronic diseases.
And staying in Côte d'Ivoire, trailblazing African and Afro-descendant women gathered this week in Abidjan to launch a global platform supporting female-led projects. Among those who made the trip, Faji Maina, a Nigerian scientist of NASA, hoping to inspire the next generation. She speaks to Miriam Amelal and Damien Kofi.
You have an exceptional career. How can you help African women to follow your example?
I would say to African women to believe in themselves. We need to assist them because those people have talents. They are super intelligent. They can do anything. But today, they are being neglected. And we cannot afford to neglect those people because we need them to do science and technology to solve all the problems that we have today. So we need to assist those people and to tell them that they are super intelligent and they can do anything that a man can do today.
What is the advice that you can give to African little girls who are watching you today? What is your message to encourage them to do science and to achieve their dreams, be them in Niger, in Tunisia, in Ivory Coast?
I would say to themselves to believe in themselves and to listen to the little voice in their mind, because I'm pretty sure that this voice is telling them that they can do anything they want. They can do the best in this world. So please believe in yourself, my dear sister, daughter, and everyone. And together we need you to change the world and to make the world a better place to live.
And Eid Mubarak to all celebrating around the world. From Dakar to Dubai, Muslims are marking the Big Eid, or Tabaski in West Africa, one of Islam's most sacred festivals. But this year in countries like Sudan and Morocco, the joy of the holiday is shadowed by crisis and uncertainty. Clémence Valère has the story.
To kick off the Eid al-Adha celebrations, these Nigerians are gathering to pray at the Al-Habibiyya Mosque in Abuja. Despite the severe economic crisis affecting the country, solidarity and charity are at the heart of the event, with meals being distributed after the prayers.
We all know things are hard now, and we should do things with the little God has given to us. Happiness is not having plenty. Happiness is being contented with whatever you have gotten.
Today is the mood of sharing, caring, and love. Why? Because our dear grandfather Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam passed the test of patience. That is what we are trying to emulate today.
Traditionally, during Eid, a sheep or ram is sacrificed to commemorate the sacrifice of Abraham or Ibrahim. But this year, many people are finding it hard to buy one due to a sharp price increase. For the first time in almost 30 years, Morocco has called on its citizens to not sacrifice a sheep because of the persistent drought, which has led to a decline in the livestock population.
In recent years, I've noticed a rise in prices and the resulting suffering of the public who can't afford Eid. Some of them borrow money to buy the sheep. I support this decision.
Another source of concern during this festive season, the conflicts that are tearing certain countries apart. In Sudan, the celebrations are muted because of the war that has been raging for more than 2 years. According to a report published last Thursday by the International Organization for Migration, more than 10 million people have been internally displaced since the beginning of the conflict in April 2023.
Eid Mubarak for those who celebrate. Thank you for watching Eye on Africa.
Hello, I'm Annette Young, the host of the 51%, and in this week's special edition, we're in the Brittany coastal town of Lorient as we focus on women of the sea, be they sailors, explorers or working on fishing vessels. And in a world still largely dominated by men, this group of women is helping to turn the tide.
The 51%, presented by Annette Young on France 24 and France24.com.